My name is Kathy, and I am 58 years old. This past Christmas Eve, I spent the entire day preparing what I thought would be a beautiful family dinner. The turkey was golden, the table sparkled with candles, and my heart was full of hope. My daughter Laura was coming with her husband Travis, and I couldn't wait to see her smile. But something in Travis's eyes that night made my stomach turn. I had no idea that in just a few hours I would be lying on my kitchen floor, humiliated in front of everyone I loved. And I certainly had no idea that by the time Travis woke up the next morning, his entire world would be turned upside down. Before I tell you what happened that night that changed everything, I would love to know where you are watching from. Please hit that like button and subscribe, because what my son-in-law did next and how I responded might just surprise you. Now let me take you back to that Christmas evening. Let me start by telling you a little bit about my life before that horrible night. My husband Thomas died 5 years ago from a sudden heart attack. He was only 61. One morning he kissed me goodbye as he left for work, and by noon he was gone. The grief nearly destroyed me, but Thomas had been a careful man. He left me with a beautiful home in the suburbs worth about $600,000. A healthy savings account, some stock investments, and enough to live comfortably for the rest of my life. Thomas and I only had one child. Laura. She was our everything. We poured all our love into raising her, and she grew up to be a smart, kind, successful woman. She works as a marketing director at a tech firm downtown, and I have always been so proud of her. 4 years ago, Laura met Travis at some technology conference. He was a software engineer, and at first he seemed intelligent and polite. He had a way of talking about big ideas and future plans that impressed Laura. They dated for about a year, and then 3 years ago they got married. I had some reservations about Travis. There was something about the way he carried himself, a certain arrogance, that made me uncomfortable. But Laura was glowing with happiness, so I pushed my doubts aside. I just wanted my daughter to be happy. After their wedding, I wanted to help them build their life together. Travis and Laura were renting a small apartment, and they talked about wanting to buy a house. I offered to help with the down payment. I gave them $80,000 from my savings. It was a lot of money, but Laura was my only child. What else was I saving it for? They found a nice 3-bedroom house about 20 minutes from me, and they were thrilled. A few months after they moved in, Travis came to me with a business proposal. He said he wanted to start a software startup. He had this whole pitch prepared about artificial intelligence and some platform he wanted to build. He said he needed $50,000 to get it off the ground. He promised he would pay me back within 2 years once the business started making money. I was hesitant. $50,000 was a significant amount. But he looked me right in the eye and said he would not let me down. He even sent me an email afterwards that said, and I quote, "I promise to repay you within 2 years." I kept that email. I had no idea how important it would become. Laura did not know the full extent of the money I had given Travis. She knew about the down payment for the house, but Travis told her the $50,000 was a gift from me to help with the business. I did not correct this because I did not want to cause problems between them. I trusted that Travis would do the right thing. But 2 years passed, and I never saw a penny of that money back. Whenever I gently brought it up, Travis would change the subject or say the business was still in development. Eventually, I stopped asking. I did not want to seem like I was nagging. Now back to Christmas Eve. I woke up that morning with genuine excitement. It had been a lonely year. The holidays without Thomas were always hard, but having Laura come home made it bearable. This year was special because Travis's father Dale was also joining us. I had never met Dale before. Travis rarely talked about his family, and I was curious to meet him. I started cooking at 7 in the morning. I prepared a 22-pound turkey with herb butter, homemade stuffing, with cranberries and pecans. Creamy mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, cranberry sauce from scratch dinner rolls, and a pumpkin pie with whipped cream. I set the dining table with my best china, the ones Thomas and I received as wedding gifts 40 years ago. I put out a red linen tablecloth, arranged white candles in silver holders, and even scattered some pine cones and holly for decoration. The house smelled like cinnamon and roasted turkey. Everything was perfect. Laura and Travis arrived around 5 in the evening, just as the sun was setting. Laura came through the door first, and she immediately wrapped her arms around me. She held me so tight, and when she pulled back, I noticed her eyes were red and puffy, like she had been crying. I asked if she was okay, and she just smiled and said she was fine, just tired from work. But I knew my daughter. Something was wrong. Travis came in behind her, barely making eye contact with me. He shook my hand, and his palm was cold and clammy. He mumbled a quick hello, and then turned to the man beside him. Travis introduced his father, Dale. Dale was a tall man with grey hair and kind eyes. He shook my hand warmly and thanked me for inviting him. He seemed genuinely nice, and I felt myself relax a little. We all gathered in the living room first. I brought out drinks. I made homemade eggnog and also had red wine and some sparkling cider for those who preferred non-alcoholic options. Dale complimented the house. He said it was beautiful and warm. I thanked him and explained that Thomas and I had bought this house 35 years ago when Laura was just a baby. Dale asked about Thomas, and I told him a little bit about my late husband. Dale listened carefully and offered his condolences. While Dale and I talked, I noticed Travis sitting on the couch, constantly checking his phone. He barely participated in the conversation. A few times he leaned over to whisper something to his father, and Dale would nod or shake his head. It made me uneasy. Laura tried to keep the conversation going, asking me about the neighbors and telling me about a new project at work, but her voice sounded strained. She kept glancing nervously at Travis. After about 30 minutes, I announced that dinner was ready. Everyone stood up and we made our way to the dining room. I had worked so hard on that table. It looked like something out of a magazine. The turkey sat in the center, on a silver platter, surrounded by all the side dishes. The candles flickered softly, and the whole scene felt magical. I had set 6 places at the table. I planned to sit at the head of the table, the seat where Thomas used to sit. To my right, I had a place for Dale. Across from him, I set places for Laura and Travis. And then I had one empty seat at the other end of the table. That seat was meant to honor Thomas. I know it might sound silly, but it gave me comfort to imagine him there with us. As we walked into the dining room, Travis suddenly stopped. He stood there staring at the head of the table where I was about to sit. His face had this strange expression, like he was calculating something. Then he spoke up. "Wait, Mom. Kathy, where is Dad sitting?" I was confused. I pointed to the seat on my right. "Dale is sitting right here next to me." Travis shook his head. "No, I mean, why are not you giving him the head of the table?" I blinked. I did not understand what he was getting at. "Well, this is my home, and I usually sit here. Dale is right beside me, which is a place of honor." Travis's jaw tightened. "But that is the head of the table where you are sitting. My father should sit there. He is the man. He is the elder here." The room went silent. Laura looked at Travis with wide eyes. "Travis, honey, it is Mom's house. She can sit wherever she wants." Travis turned to Laura with a sharp look. "Stay out of this, Laura." Laura's face went pale, and she looked down at her hands. Seeing my daughter shrink like that broke my heart. She was scared of him. I could see it clearly now. Dale cleared his throat. "Son, it is fine. I can sit anywhere. This is Kathy's home, and I am grateful to be here." But Travis would not let it go. "No, Dad, you deserve respect. You have worked hard your whole life. You should sit at the head of the table." Dale looked uncomfortable. Travis, please. This is not necessary. I wanted to keep the peace. It was Christmas, and I did not want a fight. So I said, "It is okay. Dale can sit here if that makes Travis feel better." I started to move toward a different chair. Travis nodded with this smug look on his face. "Thank you, Mom, Kathy. I knew you would understand." I sat down in the chair beside where Dale was supposed to sit, and my chest felt tight. I was annoyed, but I tried to hide it. This was my home, my table, and I had just been asked to give up my seat. Dale sat down at the head of the table, looking extremely uncomfortable. He kept glancing at me apologetically. I gave him a small smile to let him know it was not his fault. We all settled in, and I began to say grace. I closed my eyes and started, "Dear Lord, thank you for this food and for bringing us together." Travis interrupted me. "Actually, we should let Dad lead the prayer, as the head of the table." I stopped mid-sentence and looked at Travis. His eyes challenged me. I swallowed my frustration and nodded. "Of course." Dale looked mortified, but he cleared his throat and said a quick prayer. "Thank you, God, for this meal and for Kathy's hospitality. Amen." We all echoed amen. And I started passing around the food. I tried to make conversation asking Dale about his work. He told me he was a retired mechanic. He seemed like a genuinely humble man, and I could not understand how he had raised someone like Travis. As we ate, Travis continued to make little comments. "This turkey is a bit dry, is not it?" he said loudly, cutting into his meat. I felt my face flush. I had been cooking that turkey since 6 in the morning, basting it every 30 minutes. It was not dry. Dale quickly said, "I think it is delicious, Kathy, perfectly cooked." Travis ignored his father. "Dad, you should have more mashed potatoes. Mom Kathy made plenty." Every time I tried to say something, Travis would either ignore me or talk over me. He acted like I was not even there. Laura sat beside him, eating in silence, not daring to speak. I could see the tension in her shoulders. I started to feel a growing sense of anger. This was my home. I had spent all day cooking for these people, and Travis was treating me like some kind of servant. And worse, he was doing it in front of his father and my own daughter. I wanted to say something to tell him to stop being so rude, but I did not want to ruin the evening for Laura. So I stayed quiet and kept eating, even though every bite felt like swallowing stones. After we finished the main course, I stood up to clear the plates. Laura immediately stood up to help me, but Travis called out to her, "Laura, stay here with us. Your mother can handle it." Laura froze, looking between Travis and me. I could see the conflict in her eyes. She wanted to help me, but she was afraid of upsetting Travis. Finally, she sat back down, giving me an apologetic look. I carried the plates into the kitchen alone, feeling the weight of the evening pressing down on me. As I stood at the sink rinsing dishes, I could hear their voices from the dining room. Travis was talking to Dale in a low voice, but the house was quiet enough that I could make out most of what he was saying. "See, Dad. I told you this house is huge. 4 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, and look at that backyard through the window. It has got to be at least half an acre." Dale responded, but his voice was quieter, and I could not hear him clearly. Travis continued, "I am thinking it is time for a change. Laura is the only child. This house will be hers eventually, and that means it will be ours." My hands stopped moving. I stood there frozen, listening. "Our apartment is only 900 square feet, Travis went on. "We are cramped, and we want to start having kids soon. This place would be perfect for a growing family. Plus, with the equity in this house, we could really set ourselves up." I felt a chill run through my body. He was already planning to take my home. The home Thomas and I built together. The home where I raised Laura, where every corner held a memory. And he talked about it like it was already his. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself, and brought out the dessert. I had made pumpkin pie from scratch, and I served it with vanilla ice cream. I placed slices in front of everyone with a smile that felt like it might crack my face. "Dessert is ready," I announced, my voice sounding steadier than I felt. Travis barely glanced at it. "Oh, good. I was wondering when that would come." Dale jumped in quickly. "Kathy, this looks wonderful. Thank you so much for all this effort." As we ate dessert, Travis brought up the subject I had been dreading. "Mom, Kathy, this house really is too big for just one person, is not it?" I put down my fork. "I manage just fine. I love this home. Thomas and I built so many memories here. Laura grew up here." Travis leaned back in his chair. "Sure, but it is a lot of maintenance for someone your age. The lawn, the repairs, the heating bills in winter. Have you ever thought about downsizing, maybe getting a nice little condo somewhere?" I felt my temper rising. "I am only 58, Travis. I am perfectly capable of managing my own home." "I am just saying," Travis continued with a condescending tone. "At your age, a smaller place would be so much easier. Less to worry about. You could have a simple, quiet life." Laura finally spoke up. "Travis, that is enough. Mom loves this house. She is not going anywhere." Travis shot her an irritated look. "I am just being practical, Laura. Someone has to think about these things." I said firmly, "I have no plans to move Travis. This is my home, and I will stay here as long as I want." Travis gave me this smirk, like he knew something I did not. "Well, we will see about that." That comment made my blood boil, but I tried to stay calm. Then I decided to bring up something I had been avoiding for 2 years. "Speaking of practical matters, Travis, how is your startup going? You know, the one I lent you $50,000 for 2 years ago?" Travis's face changed instantly. The smug look disappeared, replaced by irritation. "It is going fine. These things take time. You cannot rush innovation." I kept my voice even. "I understand that, but we never actually discussed a timeline for repayment. It has been 2 years now." Travis set down his fork hard. "Are you seriously asking me for money on Christmas?" "That is pretty cold, Mom, Kathy." I was taken aback. "I am not demanding anything. I am just asking about the status." Travis crossed his arms. "You know what I thought, that money was a gift. A mother helping her daughter's husband start a business. I did not realize there were strings attached." Laura looked shocked. "Travis, you told me Mom gave you that money as a gift." "That is what I understood," Travis said defensively. I shook my head. "No, Travis. I specifically told you it was a loan. You even sent me an email promising to pay it back within 2 years." Travis waved his hand dismissively. "I do not remember it that way." Dale spoke up, his voice firm. "Son, if you borrowed money, you need to pay it back. That is basic decency." Travis glared at his father. "Dad, stay out of this. You do not know the full situation." Then Travis turned to me, and his voice was full of venom. "Besides, after all we have done for you, keeping you company, inviting you to holidays, I think that money is the least you could do." I stared at him in disbelief. "Excuse me, this is my house. I invited you here." Laura started crying softly. "Please, everyone, it is Christmas. Can we just stop?" But Travis stood up from his chair. "You know what I am tired of being disrespected in this house." I was completely confused now. "Travis, I have not disrespected you. What are you even talking about?" "You have been treating my father like some second-class guest all night," Travis said, his voice rising. "Not giving him the respect he deserves as the elder, as the man of the family." I felt my patience snap. "The man of the family, Travis, your father is a guest in my home, and I have treated him with nothing but kindness and hospitality." Travis took a step toward me. You made him sit in the corner, like some afterthought, instead of at the head of the table where he belongs. Dale stood up. Travis, that is enough. Kathy has been incredibly gracious. But Travis was not listening anymore. His face was red, and his eyes had this wild look. You know what I have had enough of this. Dad, get up. Come sit at the head of the table. I was still sitting down. Travis, we are done with dinner. There is no need for this. There is every need, Travis said, moving closer to me. My father needs to know he is respected in this family. Travis was standing right next to me now. I was still seated, and having him loom over me made me feel small and threatened. My heart was pounding. Mom, Kathy, move. I want Dad to sit at the head of the table, Travis demanded. I started to stand up slowly, wanting to diffuse the situation. Travis, this is ridiculous. Let us just calm down and— I said move, Travis shouted. Everything happened so fast. I was halfway out of my chair when I felt Travis's hand on my shoulder. And then he pushed. Hard. I lost my balance completely. My feet tangled and I went down. I hit the hardwood floor with a sickening thud. My right knee took most of the impact, and pain shot through my leg. My palms scraped against the floor as I tried to catch myself. One of the candles on the table tipped over from the vibration wax spilling across the tablecloth. For a moment, there was complete silence. Then Laura screamed, "Travis! Oh my God!" Dale jumped up from his chair. "Travis, what the hell did you just do?" I was on the floor, my knee throbbing, my hands stinging. I looked down and saw blood on my palms where the skin had scraped off. But the physical pain was nothing compared to the humiliation. I was lying on my own kitchen floor, pushed down by my son-in-law on Christmas Eve in front of my family. Tears poured down my face before I could stop them. Not just from pain, but from shock and betrayal and rage all mixed together. Laura dropped to her knees beside me. Mom, are you okay? Oh God, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. She wrapped her arms around me, and I could feel her whole body shaking as she sobbed. I held on to my daughter, but my eyes were fixed on Travis. He was standing there, breathing hard, looking at his hands like he could not believe what they had just done. Dale was livid. His face had turned bright red. Travis Allen Cooper. How dare you? That is your mother-in-law. What is wrong with you? Travis seemed to snap back to reality. She was disrespecting you, Dad. She would not move. Disrespecting me? Dale's voice cracked. By sitting in her own chair in her own home. Are you out of your mind? Dale came around the table and knelt down beside me. Kathy, I am so sorry. This is completely unacceptable. Are you hurt? Should I call an ambulance? I shook my head, even though my knee was screaming. I am okay, I managed to say, though my voice was shaking. Travis was starting to realize the magnitude of what he had done. Look, I did not mean for her to fall like that. I just wanted her to move. I barely touched her. Dale stood up and faced his son. You pushed her! She is on the floor bleeding. There is blood on her hands. Laura looked up at Travis, her face streaked with tears and mascara. Barely touched her, Travis. You shoved my mother to the ground. Travis tried to defend himself. She is being dramatic. She is fine. Look, she is not even really hurt. That comment made something inside me break. I realized in that moment that Travis did not feel sorry at all. He was just trying to justify what he had done. With Laura's help and Dale holding my other arm, I slowly stood up. My knee buckled slightly, and I had to put most of my weight on my left leg. My right knee was already starting to swell. I wiped my face with the back of my hand, smearing tears and probably some blood from my scraped palm. I looked directly at Travis, and I spoke with as much calm as I could muster. Get out of my house. Travis actually had the audacity to look offended. What? Come on, Mom, Kathy. Do not be like that. It was an accident. My voice got stronger. I said, get out of my house, now. Travis looked at Laura. Laura, you are not going to let her kick me out, are you? Tell her she's overreacting. Laura was still crying, but when she looked at Travis, there was something new in her eyes. Disgust. Travis, you just pushed my mother to the floor. You hurt her. It was an accident, Travis insisted, but his voice was weak. Dale grabbed his son's arm. Travis, we are leaving. Right now. Get your coat. Travis pulled his arm away. Dad, you are supposed to be on my side here. There are no sides, Dale said firmly. You put your hands on a woman and knocked her down. We are leaving immediately. Travis's face went from defensive to angry. Fine, whatever. This whole thing is ridiculous anyway. He stomped over to the hallway and grabbed his coat. But before he left, he turned back to me, and his parting words made my blood run cold. You will regret this, Mom, Kathy. Just remember, Laura is my wife, and someday this house will be ours. You will need us eventually, and we will remember this moment. Then he walked out, slamming the door so hard that a picture frame fell off the wall in the hallway. Dale stayed behind for a moment. He took my hand gently, careful not to hurt my scraped palm. Kathy, I do not even have words. I am ashamed. I thought I raised him better than this. I nodded, unable to speak. If there is anything I can do, Dale continued, any medical bills, anything at all, please call me. Here is my number. He pulled out a business card from his wallet and set it on the table. I mean that. Anything. Then he looked at Laura, gave her a sad smile, and left to follow his son. The house was suddenly quiet, except for Laura's crying. She held me tight, repeating over and over, I am so sorry, Mom. I had no idea. I am so sorry. I stroked her hair. Honey, this is not your fault. I should have seen it, Laura said between sobs. I should have known he was capable of this. There were signs, little things. The way he talks to me sometimes. The way he gets angry over nothing. I just made excuses for him. I pulled back and looked at my daughter's face. Laura, you need to think very seriously about your marriage. A man who would do this to me, who would push his wife's mother to the ground, that man is not safe. Laura nodded, tears streaming down her face. I know, Mom. I know. She wanted to stay with me, but I could see she was torn. She had come with Travis, and now he was gone. I did not want her to feel trapped. Go home, sweetheart. We will talk tomorrow. But promise me you will be careful. I promise, Laura whispered. She hugged me one more time so tight I could barely breathe, and then she left. I stood in the doorway and watched her car disappear down the street. Then I closed the door, locked it, and leaned against it. The house was a mess. The dining table still had dishes on it. The candle wax had hardened on the tablecloth. There was a small spot of blood on the floor where I had fallen. I walked slowly into the living room and just sat down on the floor. Not on the couch, on the floor. And I let myself cry. I cried for Thomas, wishing he was here. I cried for Laura, trapped in a marriage with that man. I cried for myself, humiliated and hurt in my own home. But after a while the crying stopped, and something else took its place. Anger. Cold, clear anger. I stood up, ignoring the pain in my knee. I walked to the bathroom, cleaned my hands, and put bandages on the scrapes. I wrapped an ice pack around my knee. Then I went to my bedroom to the desk where Thomas used to work. I turned on the lamp and opened my laptop. And I started planning. Travis thought he had won. He thought he could push me around literally and figuratively. He thought I was just some weak old widow who would eventually give in and hand over everything I had. He was wrong. I pulled out files from the drawer. The deed to my house showing it was solely in my name. the email from Travis about the $50,000 loan, my current will, which left everything to Laura, the mortgage documents for Laura and Travis's house showing me as a co-signer because I had paid their down payment. I looked at all these documents spread out on the desk, and a plan started forming in my mind. Travis had made a huge mistake tonight. He had shown me exactly who he was, and now I was going to show him who I was. "He will not get away with this," I said out loud to the empty room. "Not for one more second." I sat at Thomas's old desk for a long time thinking. My knee was still throbbing, but I barely noticed. My mind was racing with possibilities. Travis thought he had power over me because he was married to my daughter. He thought I would never do anything that might hurt Laura, and in the past he would have been right. But tonight, he had crossed a line. And I was done being passive. I looked at the clock. It was almost 10 at night. Late, but not too late. I picked up my phone and started making calls. The first call was to Stephen Brooks. Stephen had been our family lawyer for 20 years. He had handled Thomas's estate after he died, and he had always told me to call him if I ever needed anything. Well, tonight, I needed something. The phone rang 4 times before Stephen answered. "Kathy, is everything okay? It is late." "Stephen, I need your help. Tonight. Right now." There was a pause. "Are you hurt? Should I call the police?" "I am not seriously injured, but something happened tonight that I need to address immediately." I told him everything. About Travis pushing me down, about the threats he made as he left, about the $50,000 he never repaid, about how he clearly planned to take my house someday. Stephen was quiet for a moment after I finished. Then he said, "Kathy, what Travis did was assault. You could press criminal charges." "I do not want him in jail," I said. "I want to protect my daughter and protect my assets. Can you help me?" "Absolutely," Stephen said without hesitation. "What do you want to do?" "I want to change my will, tonight. I want it done before Travis wakes up tomorrow morning." Stephen understood immediately. "Who do you want to leave your estate to?" "Still Laura," I said. "She is my daughter and I love her. But I want protections in place so that Travis can never touch any of it." Stephen explained that we could create something called a trust. If I died, my assets would go into a trust for Laura's benefit. The trust could have specific conditions. For example, if Laura divorced Travis, she would get full control of everything. But if she stayed married to him, the trust would be managed by an independent trustee. Travis would have no legal right to any of it, even as Laura's husband. "That is perfect," I said. Stephen continued. "We can also add a clause that gives you the right to change the beneficiary entirely if Travis continues to threaten or harass you. It gives you leverage." "Do it," I said, "all of it." "I will draft the documents tonight and email them to you within 2 hours," Stephen said. "You can review them, and we will meet first thing tomorrow morning to sign them officially. I will bring a notary." "Thank you, Stephen." "Kathy," he said, his voice serious, "I want you to think about getting a restraining order against Travis. What he did tonight was not okay." "Let me see how things develop," I said. "Right now, I want to secure my assets first." After I hung up with Stephen, I called my bank's customer service hotline. I left a detailed voicemail for my personal banker asking for a meeting on December 26th. I explained that I needed to discuss my role as a co-signer on my daughter's mortgage and explore my options for removing myself from that responsibility. The third call was to Maria, my accountant. Maria had been helping me manage my finances since Thomas died. She answered on the second ring. "Kathy, it is late. Is everything all right?" I told her a shortened version of what happened. Then I said, "Maria, I need to know what documentation we have about the money I lent to Travis." Maria thought for a moment. "I have the email exchange where he confirmed it was a loan." I have the bank transfer records showing the $50,000 went from your account to his. And I have notes from when you told me about the arrangement. Why, I may need to take legal action to recover that money. I can draft a formal demand letter if you want, Maria offered. It will lay out exactly what he owes you with interest and give him a deadline to pay. Yes, do that. But send it after the holidays. I want him to enjoy his Christmas dinner first. There was a bitter satisfaction in that thought. Consider it done, Maria said. After I hung up, I opened my email and started writing a message to Laura. I wanted her to know that I loved her, that none of this was her fault, but that I would be taking steps to protect myself. I told her I would always be there for her, no matter what she decided to do about her marriage. But I also told her that Travis was no longer welcome in my home, and that I was making changes to secure my future. I reread the email 3 times before I sent it. It was not angry, it was not accusatory toward Laura. It was simply honest. I hit send at 11:30 at night. Then I started working on one more thing. I wanted to send Travis a message he would never forget. I opened a document on my computer and started typing a letter directly to Travis. Travis, I wrote, last night you pushed me to the floor in my own home in front of my family on Christmas. You humiliated me and showed me exactly who you truly are. You think that because I am a widow, because I am older, because I love my daughter, that I am weak and powerless. You are wrong. I continued typing. This house is mine. My assets are mine. My money is mine. Laura is my daughter, but you have no claim to anything I own. I have contacted my lawyer tonight and made significant changes to my estate plan. You will never inherit anything from me. Not my house, not my money, nothing. Furthermore, I went on, you will receive formal documentation regarding the $50,000 you owe me. You promised in writing to repay that loan within 2 years. That deadline has passed. You have 30 days to begin repayment, or I will pursue legal action. I have all the evidence I need. I typed the final paragraph. I am also re-evaluating my position as a co-signer on your mortgage. I will not continue to financially support a man who physically assaults me and disrespects me in my own home. You made a terrible mistake last night. You thought you could intimidate me. Instead, you woke up something in me that you are going to regret. You showed me who you are. Now you will face the consequences. You are not welcome in my home ever again. I signed it simply, Kathy. I printed the letter along with copies of Travis's email about the loan, the demand letter from Maria, the bank records, and a notice about the mortgage co-signer situation. I put everything in a large envelope. Then I went online and found a courier service that operated on December 26th. I paid extra for early morning delivery. I scheduled the package to arrive at Travis and Laura's house at 7 in the morning. I wanted it to be the first thing Travis saw when he woke up. After I finished all of that, I looked at the clock. It was 1 in the morning. I was exhausted, but I felt something I had not felt in a long time. Power, control. I went to the bedroom, took some pain medication for my knee, and climbed into bed. For the first time in months, maybe years, I fell asleep with a smile on my face. Tomorrow morning, Travis was going to get the surprise of his life. The next morning, December 26th, I woke up early. My knee was stiff and sore, and when I looked at it, there was an ugly purple bruise spreading across my kneecap. My palms still had bandages on them, but I felt energized. I made myself coffee and sat at the kitchen table waiting. I imagined what was happening at Travis and Laura's house. At Travis and Laura's house, things were not going well. They had driven home in complete silence the night before. When they got inside, Laura went straight to the bedroom without saying a word to Travis. Travis had tried to talk to her, tried to explain, tried to make excuses, but Laura just held up her hand and said, "I cannot even look at you right now." They went to bed in silence. Laura turned away from Travis, putting as much distance between them as the bed would allow. At exactly 7 in the morning, the doorbell rang. Travis woke up groggily annoyed at being disturbed so early. He got out of bed, threw on his bathrobe, and stumbled down the stairs. Laura stayed in bed, not moving. Travis opened the door to find a courier holding a large envelope. "Delivery for Travis Cooper. Sign here, please." Travis signed without thinking and took the envelope. He closed the door and looked at the return address. It was from a law office. His stomach dropped. He walked into the living room and sat on the couch. His hands were shaking slightly as he opened the envelope. He pulled out a stack of papers and started reading. The first document was the old email he had sent to me 2 years ago. Seeing his own words, "I promise to repay you within 2 years," made his face go pale. He had forgotten about that email. He had hoped I did not have any proof. The second document was a formal demand letter from my accountant. It stated that Travis Allen Cooper owed Kathy Williams the sum of $50,000 plus interest, totaling $53,500. It gave him 30 days to begin repayment or face legal action. The third document was a notice about the mortgage. It explained that I was considering removing myself as a co-signer from their home loan. If that happened, the bank would require Travis and Laura to either pay back the $80,000 down payment I had contributed or refinance the entire mortgage on their own. Given Travis's failed business and their current financial situation, they would never qualify. And then there was my letter. Travis read it slowly, and with each word his face got paler. By the time he finished, sweat was forming on his forehead. He sat there on the couch, holding the papers in his trembling hands, trying to process what had just happened. In one night I had completely turned the tables on him. He heard footsteps on the stairs. Laura came down still in her pajamas. Her eyes were red and puffy from crying. What was at the door? Travis could not speak. He just handed her the envelope. Laura sat down beside him and started reading. Her eyes grew wider and wider. "Oh my God, Travis, she is serious. This is insane," Travis finally managed to say. "She cannot do this." "Yes, she can," Laura said, her voice flat. "You pushed her down, Travis. You physically hurt my mother in her own home on Christmas." "It was an accident," Travis said weakly, but even he did not sound convinced anymore. "No, it was not," Laura said. She stood up and looked down at him. "I saw it. You deliberately shoved her. I watched you do it." Travis tried to reach for her hand. "Laura, we have to stick together. She's trying to come between us." Laura pulled her hand away. "No, Travis. You came between us. You did this." Travis looked at the papers again, panic rising in his chest. "We do not have $50,000. The business failed. We are barely making ends meet on your salary. If she pulls out of the mortgage, we will lose this house." "I know," Laura said quietly. "You have to talk to her," Travis pleaded. "Tell her I am sorry. Tell her I will do anything. She will listen to you." Laura shook her head. "I am not going to beg my mother to forgive the man who assaulted her." "Assaulted? That is a strong word. I just pushed her a little." Laura's voice rose. "She fell to the floor, Travis. She was bleeding." "You think that is just a little push?" Travis did not have an answer. Laura walked to the window and looked outside. "My mom sent me an email last night. Did you know she gave you that $50,000 as a loan? You told me it was a gift." Travis looked down. "I thought she would not ask for it back." "You lied to me," Laura said, turning to face him. "About the money, about so many things. What else have you lied about?" Before Travis could answer, his phone rang. It was his father. Travis answered with a shaky voice. "Dad." Dale's voice was stern. "Travis, I just got off the phone with Kathy's lawyer. Did you know that she is considering pressing assault charges?" Travis felt like he might throw up. What? She is going to have me arrested. She could, Dale said. The lawyer called me because I am listed as a witness. I was there. I saw what you did. Dad, please. You are my father. You would not testify against me. There was a long pause. Then Dale said, Son, I love you, but I will tell the truth if called upon. You hurt that woman. What you did was wrong. Travis felt tears stinging his eyes. I did not mean for her to fall. Then you should not have pushed her, Dale said simply. Listen to me carefully. You need to make this right. You need to sincerely apologize to Kathy, and you need to start paying back that money. Do you understand me? I do not have that kind of money, Travis said desperately. Then you get a second job. You sell things. You figure it out. Because if you do not, you are going to lose everything. Your home, possibly your wife, and you could end up with a criminal record. Travis heard his father's voice crack slightly. I am disappointed in you, Travis. Your mother and I raised you to be better than this, to respect women, to honor your commitments. I do not know who you have become, but I do not like it. Then Dale hung up. Travis sat there staring at his phone. Laura was watching him from across the room. That was your dad, she asked. Travis nodded. What did he say? That I need to fix this. Travis looked up at Laura, and for the first time he seemed to actually understand the gravity of what he had done. Laura, I'm so sorry. I messed up so badly. Laura crossed her arms. You did not just mess up, Travis. You hurt someone I love. You showed me a side of yourself that scares me. I would never hurt you, Travis said quickly. You hurt my mother, Laura replied. The woman who raised me, who has supported us, who gave us money to buy this house. If you could do that to her, what stops you from doing it to me? Travis stood up and tried to approach Laura, but she stepped back. Do not come near me right now. Where are you going? Travis asked as Laura headed toward the stairs. To my mother's house, Laura said. And do not even think about following me. You are not welcome there. Laura went upstairs and packed a bag. Travis listened to her moving around above him, and he felt his entire world crumbling. When Laura came back down with her overnight bag, she would not even look at him. Laura, please. Travis tried one more time. Do not leave me. Laura stopped at the door and finally looked at him. I need time to think about whether I can stay in this marriage. A man who would do what you did, I do not know if I can trust you anymore. I will change, Travis promised. I will do better. I will pay your mom back. I will get help for my anger. Maybe you should have thought about that before you pushed her down, Laura said. Then she walked out and got in her car. Travis watched from the window as she drove away. He was alone in the house that I had helped them buy, holding papers that proved I could take it all away. He looked down at my letter again and reread the last line. You showed me who you are. Now you will face the consequences. Travis sank to the floor and put his head in his hands. In less than 12 hours, his entire life had fallen apart, and it was all his own fault. He had underestimated me. He had thought I was just some weak, lonely old woman who would roll over and accept whatever he dished out. He had never been more wrong about anything in his life. 2 weeks passed. Laura was still staying with me. We had long talks every day about her marriage, her future, and what she wanted. She was leaning heavily toward divorce, and I supported her completely. Travis had sent multiple apologetic texts and emails, but Laura had not responded to most of them. He sent a formal apology letter to me through his lawyer, but it felt empty and forced. Stephen. My lawyer advised me that I had a strong case for assault charges if I wanted to pursue them, but I decided to hold that option in reserve. Just knowing I could do it was enough leverage. Travis had made his first payment toward the loan, $5,000. It had cleared in my bank account 3 days ago. He had $48,000 left to go. Maria told me he had taken out a personal loan at a high interest rate to make that payment. Good. Let him struggle. Let him understand what it felt like to be backed into a corner. One afternoon, Laura and I were sitting in the living room drinking tea. The Christmas decorations were still up, though they felt sad now, reminders of that horrible night. "Mom," Laura said, "I am sorry for everything he put you through." I reached over and took her hand. "Sweetheart, you have nothing to apologize for. You are not responsible for his actions." "But I should have seen the signs," Laura said, tears forming in her eyes. "He was always kind of controlling. Little things, telling me what to wear sometimes, getting upset if I spent too much time with my friends, making decisions without asking me. I just ignored it because I thought that was what marriage was. Compromise." "Compromise is not the same as control," I said gently. "I know that now." Laura wiped her eyes. "I have decided. I am filing for divorce." I squeezed her hand. "Are you sure this is a big decision?" "I am sure," Laura said firmly. "I cannot be with someone who would hurt you. And honestly, over these past 2 weeks, I have realized I cannot be with someone I am afraid of. I was walking on eggshells around him, always worried about setting him off. That is no way to live." "I am proud of you," I told her. "It takes courage to walk away." "I learned from the best," Laura said, giving me a small smile. "You showed me what strength looks like, Mom." A few days later, Dale came to visit me. I had texted him to let him know it would be okay for him to stop by. He was not Travis. He had done nothing wrong. Dale sat in my living room looking uncomfortable. "Kathy, I cannot tell you how sorry I am for what my son did." "Dale, you do not need to keep apologizing," I said. "You did not push me, Travis did." "But I raised him," Dale said, shaking his head. "I keep asking myself where I went wrong." "Sometimes people make their own choices," I told him. "You seem like a good man. Travis's behavior is not a reflection on you." Dale looked relieved to hear that. "I want you to know I have told Travis I will not give him any financial help until he finishes paying you back. He needs to learn responsibility." "Thank you for that," I said. "Can I ask," Dale said hesitantly, "are you going to press charges?" I thought about it. "I have not decided. Right now, having that option is enough. If Travis continues to pay back the loan and leaves me alone, I might let it go. But if he gives me any more trouble, I will not hesitate." Dale nodded. "That is more than fair." Over the next few weeks, I began to heal. Not just physically, though my knee did get better, and the scrapes on my hands faded, but emotionally too. I started seeing a therapist to process what had happened. She helped me understand that what Travis did was not just rude or inappropriate, it was assault, and I had every right to feel angry and violated. I also joined a support group for women who had experienced domestic violence or family abuse. Hearing other women's stories made me realize I was not alone. And sharing my own story helped me feel stronger. Laura and I spent a lot of time together. We cooked meals, watched movies, and talked about everything. It reminded me of when she was younger before Travis came into the picture. I had my daughter back, and it felt wonderful. One evening in early January, Laura and I were sitting on the couch, and she said, "Mom, you know what amazes me about you?" "What?" I asked. "You did not let him break you," Laura said. "The night he pushed you down, you could have just stayed down. You could have accepted it and moved on. But instead you got up and you fought back. You protected yourself and your assets, and you did it all in one night. That is incredible." I smiled. "I had a good teacher. Your father always told me to stand up for myself. He said that kindness should never be mistaken for weakness." "I miss Dad," Laura said softly. "Me too," I admitted. "But I think he would be proud of how we handled this." Laura leaned her head on my shoulder. I think so too. That night after Laura went to bed, I sat at my desk and opened my journal. I had started keeping one after Thomas died, and it had become a place where I processed my thoughts and feelings. I wrote about the past few weeks, about Travis, about Laura, about everything. Then I wrote something that surprised even me. I do not hate Travis. I am not filled with bitterness or a desire for revenge. What I feel is simply free. Free from the burden of trying to please him. Free from the fear of what he might do or say next. Free from the obligation to accept disrespect just to keep the peace. That night on the floor was the lowest point, but it was also a turning point. It showed me that I still have power. I still have agency. I still have the ability to protect myself and the people I love. And maybe that is the greatest gift Travis could have given me, though I doubt he meant to. I closed the journal and looked out the window. Spring was coming. The trees were starting to bud, and there were small green shoots poking up in the garden. It is now April, almost 4 months since that terrible Christmas night. Laura has officially filed for divorce. Travis did not contest it. He is still making monthly payments on the loan, and he has about $40,000 left to pay. I have decided not to press assault charges as long as he continues to pay and stays away from me. Stephen says we can always file later if needed. The statute of limitations gives me a few years to decide. Laura has moved into her own apartment, a small one-bedroom place close to her work. She seems happier than I have seen her in years. She says she feels like herself again. She has been going to therapy too, and she is learning about healthy relationships and boundaries. Travis tried to contact Laura a few times in the first month, but she blocked his number. He showed up at her office once, and she had security escort him out. He has not tried again since then. As for me, I am doing well. My knee healed completely. The bruises faded. The scrapes are just faint scars now. But more importantly, I healed emotionally. I am not afraid anymore. I am not angry anymore. I am just at peace. I have been spending more time with friends, taking a painting class, and volunteering at the local library. I am living my life on my own terms, in my own home, surrounded by the memories that Thomas and I created together. Yesterday, Laura came over for Sunday brunch. As we sat at the kitchen table eating French toast and fresh strawberries, she looked at me and said, "Mom, I want to thank you." "For what?" I asked. "For showing me what it means to stand up for yourself," she said. "For teaching me that love does not mean accepting abuse. For being strong when I needed you to be." I reached across the table and held her hand. "You did the hard part, sweetheart. You made the choice to leave. That takes real courage." "I learned from the best," Laura said with a smile. After Laura left, I sat on my back porch with a cup of coffee and thought about everything that had happened. That Christmas night felt like a lifetime ago now. I thought about Travis pushing me down. I thought about lying on that floor humiliated and hurt. And I thought about the decision I made in that moment to not be a victim. I pulled out my phone and opened the Notes app. I wanted to write down some thoughts lessons I had learned, things I wanted to remember. "You know," I typed, "sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself is the permission to say no, to set boundaries, to protect your peace." That Christmas night was both the worst and the best thing that ever happened to me. It was the worst because of the pain and humiliation, but it was the best because it reminded me who I am. Not just a mother, not just a widow, but a woman who deserves respect. A woman who will not be pushed around literally or figuratively. I paused and looked out at my garden. The roses were blooming. Red, pink, yellow, beautiful and strong. I continued typing. If you ever find yourself on the floor, hurt and humiliated by someone you trusted, remember this. You have the power to get up. You have the power to change the game. You have the power to reclaim your dignity. The question is, will you use it? I did, and I have never regretted it for a single moment. I saved the note and put my phone away. Then I just sat there, feeling the spring breeze, listening to the birds, and enjoying the peace that I had fought so hard to reclaim. Travis thought he could break me that night. He thought pushing me down would put me in my place. But he was wrong. All he did was wake up something inside me that had been sleeping for too long. He reminded me that I am strong, that I am capable, that I am not someone who can be pushed around, and that more than anything else is why I am grateful for what happened. Not for the pain, but for the reminder of my own strength. So here I am, 58 years old, sitting in the home that my late husband and I built together, watching the flowers bloom, and feeling more powerful than I have felt in years. And Travis, he is still paying back that loan, one painful payment at a time, learning the hardest lesson of his life. You should never underestimate a woman who knows her worth. Have you ever had to stand up for yourself in a difficult situation? Have you ever had to set boundaries with someone you thought you could trust? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please give it a like and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Hit that subscribe button so you do not miss more stories like this one. Remember, standing up for yourself is not selfish, it is necessary. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope it inspires you to protect your peace and never let anyone make you feel small. May you always have the courage to get back up when life knocks you down. Take care of yourselves and remember you are stronger than you think.